Welcome back to the Naval News. I'd like to thank Established Titles for sponsoring today's video. Big news came out of the Navy this week. They're raising the maximum age you can be to join the United States Navy for both men and women as enlisted men. It now matches the same age as commissioned officers, and that is 41 years of age. As long as you can get to boot camp before your 42nd birthday, you qualify for this program. This is all part of a push to get over 34,000 new recruits and trainees into the Navy in 2023 and years after that. Now, this program is probably not permanent because we had seen this before in the early 2000s. Whenever we invaded Iraq for the second time, the Army needed more recruits. So in 2005, they raised their maximum age for enlistment to 42 years old. That program lasted for about 6 years before they reduced it again to 35 years of age. We can expect to see something like this for the United States Navy, where it stays at this elevated level for a short period of time before coming back down again. If you're thinking about serving in the United States Navy, for men and women, now's the time to do it. I would encourage everybody to talk to your recruiter about this, but I want to talk quickly about submarine duty. If you do want to join the Navy and you're even curious about submarine duty, tell your recruiter that you volunteer for the submarine screening. Not everybody will get through the screening, but if you do, that's a very special community inside the Navy itself. We're very different than the surface or even the aviation community and all the other communities under the Navy umbrella. We really take care of each other, and our relationships go beyond our service in the Navy. Like I've kept in touch with a lot of people outside of my service that I served with in the Navy. So we really are different. If you're interested in it all, please volunteer for submarine screening and see if you can at least go to sub school and begin your journey in the submarine force. All right. And now a word from our sponsor. Thank you to Established Titles for sponsoring this video. Established Titles is a fun and novel way to preserve natural woodlands of Scotland, as well as support a global reforestation effort. Through Established Titles, you can purchase symbolic souvenir plots of land for yourself or as a great gift. This project is based on historic Scottish tradition where landowners are referred to as lords and ladies. You can officially include the title of lord or lady on credit cards, plane tickets, and dating profiles. And having that title on your dating profile is a great way to break the ice on your first date. Each title pack gives you at least 1 square foot of land with a unique plot number on a private estate in Edelston, Scotland, and an official certificate with a crest. Established Titles works with global charities like One Tree Planted and Trees for the Future to plant a tree with every order. The first 200 people purchasing a title pack with my link will effectively be next to my plot. It's within walking distance. We can start a subbrief kingdom. It makes an amazing last-minute gift.
Apparently, if you own Scotland, why did you do that? You're
Established Titles is running a massive Black Friday sale right now. Plus, if you use my code SUB, you get an additional 10% off. So go to establishedtitles.com/sub and get your gifts now and help support the channel. And welcome back. Today we want to talk about a big operation that's going on in the Atlantic right now. We are exercising our newest aircraft carrier in all of our capabilities, and that exercise is called Silent Wolverine. This is a combination exercise with other NATO fleets. 6 total countries are participating, like Canada, Denmark, Netherlands, France, Spain, and of course the United States. Germany's in there too, all taking part in this. And this new capability in this ship is really incredible. Of course, the Navy doesn't talk about every single new system, but they did tell us that there's 23 new capabilities on this platform alone, and they're sending it through its exercise right now. They're taking every system to the limit to see how far they can push this. Now, some of the systems that we do know about is, of course, the EMALS launch system. That's electromagnetic aircraft launch system. They also have an advanced propulsion system that is definitely not public, but very exciting, and a power generation system that is off the chain, because not only does the EMALS take a lot of power to recycle each one of those launches, in the future, whenever we begin installing more and more direct energy weapons on all of our surface ships, including our aircraft carriers, those will need a lot of power. So there's a huge amount of electrical generation capability and storage, mass storage, on board our newest carrier. Of course, ordnance handling is a big part of that. That's something that maybe a lot of people don't think about, ordnance handling. But what is the primary role of the aircraft carrier whenever it's in with a fleet like this? Well, it is to keep air sorties going as continuously as possible, especially during heavy operations, like when there's a battle or a strike going on, of course, right? Well, one of the limiting factors is the ability to recycle planes in the hangar with ordnance and get it back on deck for launch and redeployment, right? Well, there is a new method. They have new ways and new tools of doing that process, and that's what they're exercising right now. And while the exercise isn't finished yet, so we don't have any kind of grades or feedback, what I'm hearing from people involved is that it's very positive and very successful so far. So this new platform that is much larger than any of our other carriers appears to have the ability to have many more sorties in the air and gives us more capability because of that than anything else before. And we do want to highlight all of the NATO countries that are exercising with us. And I'll talk a little bit about how this works. Of course, I don't have the Silent Wolverine schedule. They didn't make that public like they did RIMPAC. So we don't know exactly what's going on, but we can, infer a couple things. One, you want to make sure that your carrier operations that's coordinating the fleet is be able to communicate and share targeting and radar data, sonar data, all sorts of data via data link with every one of these ships from all these different nations. Here at the front of the line of ships is the German frigate Hessen. And so a good example of what may be happening is Hessen would be responsible for a sector, or whether it's surface and air warfare or just surface warfare, and letting the Ticonderoga USS Normandy, who's right behind her, take care of the air assets 360. And then all the other assets would just be in like a passive mode, listening to see if they can detect any other transmissions out there. Is just one of many examples of how they're going to exercise the fleet to make sure that everybody can communicate with everybody else, including the brand new carrier with all of its new systems. And they're running this through their paces. And like I said, initial indications is that it's going swimmingly, which is what we want to see. Here we have a nice wide shot of the two columns of warships in line behind the aircraft carrier. There you can see the wake of the aircraft carrier. So notice how wide it is there, right? The only other ship that will have a wake that's that wide is a surface submarine, because we tend to plow through the water versus cut through the water like a warship does. And it just has to do with the shape of the front of the submarine and the sides, actually. But we won't want to go too far into that. Here's a great shot of the USS Normandy. I do need to go on a tangent here. The CEO, commanding officer of the USS Normandy, was relieved for lack of confidence on Monday. 5 days ago. And the Navy likes to protect its own, so they don't always tell us what's going on or what caused the lack of confidence. I really believe that's a disservice to the public, because that leaves us guessing as to what happened. I think that they should at least give us a category. Was it just simply a lack of leadership, or was it something criminal, right? Now, if it was criminal, we'll find out about it, because there will be a court-martial, and that's how that comes out. But a lot of times, if it's something as simple as just the inability to do his duty, which is not simple at all, it's a very complex job, being the commanding officer of a Ticonderoga class cruiser, then that's completely different than criminal affairs, right? But unfortunately, this commanding officer was relieved for cause. There are rumors everywhere, but I'm not going to perpetuate those here. So we're just going to see if they do release what actually happened. The new commanding officer of the USS Normandy is an interim commanding officer. He came from the USS Vicksburg. Now, the Vicksburg has been in modernization for 2.5 or so years, and that's finally wrapping up. Well, they grabbed that commanding officer, stuck him on the Normandy. This commanding officer is now part of the admiral's staff of the admiral who fired him. So I'm sure that's a very uncomfortable position to be in. But that's a little backstory as to some, command drama that happened recently and during this exercise. They did spend a weekend in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and I wonder if that port visit led to some shenanigans that led to the CEO being relieved. I don't know that, but I do know that they did pull in there for a weekend. Anyway, down the line there, we have the Dutch frigate Peter of Velmos and the Canadian frigate, Montreal, and the Arleigh Burke frigate or destroyer rather, Thomas Hudner, right that back there at the end with a big old American flag hanging out of that. On the other side of the carrier, we have these ships in line. I love how the little ship that was going to be completely masked by the French frigate Cheval Paul had to pull out in front of him a little bit just so that he could wave at the camera there. But in the foreground, we see the Dutch frigate Desavon Province. If I'm saying that name right, I'm probably not. Of course, we have the French frigate Cheval Paul, Dutch frigate Van Amstel, and behind them, Arleigh Burke, USS McFall. Together, the combination of firepower, just in this picture alone, is pretty freaking incredible. And these are very good multi-role ships. They can do, ASW warfare against submarines and UUVs, as well as anti-air, and of course, anti-ship. They are multi-role ships and very capable. I love this shot. It's kind of framed beneath a binocular that's mounted on the on the deck of the aircraft carrier, looking at the ships there on the starboard side of the aircraft carrier. Here's a watchstander on his sound-powered phones, manning the watch. As an enlisted man in the Navy, you'll be standing a lot of watches with sound-powered phones, like you see the gentleman here. Not always comfortable, but it's part of the job, and he's doing his job very well. So hats off to him. I recognize that jacket he's wearing. Those things are surprisingly warm, so I'm glad to see the Navy still using them after all these years. All right, here we have another frigate. This is F-831. It's got a strong, AAW radar there. Nice little deck gun and a helicopter hangar. Very cool. Very cool. All ships of all shapes and sizes taking part in this. And that's what's important here is the variety of systems all need to contact each other and talk to each other. Whether it's a very old and small ship or the newest, hottest aircraft carrier, they all need to speak the same language. And that's the big part of what we're doing here. We're putting the new aircraft carrier through all of our paces and making sure everybody can talk to everybody else. Because in conflict, it's likely you're going to have casualties. Ships are going to be taken out of commission. They're going to lose the ability to perform their primary task, whether it's, defending a sector against air and surface, or if it's just, 360 air search, they're going to lose something at some point. So you need capability in depth to make up for those losses in combat. Here we have the German frigate Hessen, absolutely beautiful machine. Here's the Canadian, or not the Canadian. Yeah, this is the Canadian frigate Montreal. This is the Halifax class. I got to see this one right after she was commissioned in Halifax, Nova Scotia. That's going back to the 90s. And it's a pretty nice ship. I was a little snarky whenever I had the tour because me being a submariner and this thing is a sub hunter, I was like, good luck with that. But I was very, other than that one instance, I was very respectful to the crew in there. And they were very kind to us too, to give us the tours that they did on board. And in the background there, you can see a French frigate as well. Here's a nice close-up of it. This is a Danish frigate, Peter Velmos. And I'm not sure I'm saying that name right, but look at this. Look at the systems on board of this. Of course, she's got the stealth style hull that everybody has now, which is just angled. You don't have that walkway around decks like you saw in the old Cold War days. This is to help reduce the radar signature of the ship. You have the helicopter hangar there on the back, some point defense guns, VLS, and lots of sensors. They got radars all over this thing. So very good, very good. Point defense right there as well. Beautiful ship. Here's the French frigate Cheval Paul, if I'm saying that right. They have a nice, very, very similar to our previous ship, but this one has a big deck gun on the front. And I think it can manage 2 of their helicopters instead of just 1. But anyway, very, very strong asset. And these are all like pieces of the puzzle. They all work together to make a complete picture. So, and because we have redundant capabilities between multiple vessels, we can lose one to casualty in wartime and still maintain our capability. And this is the queen jewel of the fleet right here. This is the new Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier. This thing was enormously expensive. I think it was $13 billion in the end. Took years to test. After she was commissioned, she did testing for another 2 years, but they finally got her working, and all initial indications is that she's working phenomenally now. So, money well spent eventually. It took us a long time to get here, many years, but I'm extremely impressed with our new capability. I think we're building 4 of these. It's going to be amazing whenever they're all done. Just keep in mind, I know aircraft carriers may all look the same to many people. This one's special. It's enormous. It's so much larger than even our largest aircraft carrier before this one. It is a big, big girl, and that allows her to do a lot with the number of planes she has on board. Not just more, but she can maintain more in the air because of how the new systems all work together. That speed, that efficiency leads to capability in the air. And that's all we know. I'm sure it's much more capable than that, but that's all they're telling us. This is a beautiful shot here of that Ticonderoga and the ships sailing alongside with it. I'm still a big fan of the Arleigh Burke, back there in the back. I think that's really one of the strongest ships at sea in any Navy right now. And a tip of the hat to the Ticonderogas. They're getting up there in age. They're all being decommissioned, and it's time for them to go. We just need a new ship to take on their role. For the time being, it's going to be the Arleigh Burke Flight 2 Alpha will be taking on their role. But we're getting a new frigate called Constellation class. Hopefully in 2028 is when I think that's going to come online. Some are saying 2030. That's a little too late. We need it sooner than that. But we're losing a lot of VLS capability as well as radar and sensor capability with the Ticonderogas going away. So we need to replenish that capability as fast as possible. Plans are in place to do that, so it's going to happen. There's just going to be a bit of a gap, a bit of a dip, if you will, in our capability around 2027 to 2029, 30. I've talked about that to death in other videos. We're not going to rehash it here, but here's a close-up of that Arleigh Burke. Man, do not sleep on these ships. I know it may not look like much to you, but there is a lot of capability packed into this little thing. And in my opinion, our most capable large surface combatant in the United States Navy. Absolutely wonderful ship. And there we go. There's a nice shot of the fleet. Oh yeah, I should mention the Spanish frigate Alberto de Bazan, F-101 was with us, of course. This was the only picture of her that I could find, so I had to add this into it. So, and that's all 6 nations working together. And as far as we know so far, the test is going amazing. And there are all the ships together in one shot. All right. I'm really excited. I hope they publish what they did, and and let us know what other new capabilities does this fantastic new aircraft carrier have. But I imagine a lot of that's going to be secret for a very long time. But it's good to see the first of our new super carriers actually out there, fully operational, doing the business, and getting it done. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great one. Bye.